Today we're going to talk about formatting your book using Microsoft Word. Now there are more expensive formatting softwares that you can use, such as Vellum, and that one, the thing that's nice about it is it does produce a very professional product. It's fairly easy to learn, and it's just a one-time payment, so you're not paying every year to update your Vellum software. However, Microsoft Word, most people already have, so if you have this on your computer, you're not having to pay anything extra to use Microsoft to download or to format your manuscript. So let's go ahead and get started. What we're going to use is something called styles. If you look up here at the top of the page, you've probably seen this every single time that you open up a Word document. However, there's this cool little arrow over here that's going to make your life super easy, and this is going to make formatting your document super quick, super easy, and not at all overwhelming. What I've done is I took the script from one of my previous videos and just copied and pasted it into a Word document. Now the first thing that I'm going to do before we start touching styles is come up here to layout, and let's change the size of the book. Okay, I typically publish 6 by 9-inch books. So we've changed that. If you've got a book that's going to have bleed, your book size is actually going to be a little bit bigger. Bleed just means that you have images that go all the way to the edge of the document, and your page size would then be usually I think it's like 325 by 9.25. Here we go. Set trim, size, bleed, and margins. Trim size specifications, and then it shows you right here, when a book is printed, all pages are trimmed to the select trim size by cutting a 0.125 inch from the top, bottom, and outside edges. So you have to extend each of the edges by 0.125, and that's going to affect the size of your document. However, for us, we're going to assume that this book is not going to have bleed, and we're just going to have it be a 6 by 9 inch book. Okay, so we've changed the size. Let's go ahead and change the margins. When you format your margins for a book, you're going to use mirror margins. This just means that the inside of your book, this is the part of the page that's touching the binding of the book, is going to be a little bit wider than the outside, which makes sense because when you're reading through a book, there's, pages that are on the inside, the margins that are on the inside, you can't really see the text as well if it's really close to the crease, to the binding of the book, so you need a little bit more space there, and then the rest of these will be 1/2 inch. Okay, so everything's all set up. Now as you can see, the text that I have entered in right here doesn't look very good. Everything is in Arial. It's not very good, easy on the eyes. It's very hard to pick out important information. So what we want to do with formatting is make this really reader friendly. And there are several different fonts that you can use. Typically your body paragraphs are going to use a serif font. And serif basically means that the font, here we'll make this bigger here so you can see what a serif looks like. A serif font, like Times New Roman, is going to have these little decorative edges. You see that? How there's like these little lines on the edges, and these help lead the eyes of the reader through a paragraph. So your body paragraphs will almost always have serif. There's a couple different ones. There's Garamond, that's pretty popular, and Times New Roman is also pretty popular. Let's take a look. That's Times New Roman. Let's take a look at Garamond. That's Garamond. And there's other options that you have, but these are two fairly popular ones when you're publishing a book. Now your chapter headings can be something called sans serif, which means they don't have these little flourishes at the ends. And another one that's pretty popular for chapter titles is going to be Helvetica, and this is going to completely depend on what book you're creating, what type of book you're creating, what feel you're going for. You can really play around with this. Something that I would suggest is pulling open a book in your niche. So if you're writing romance, then find a romance book that you really like, open it up and take a look at their formatting, and then try to mirror your formatting after their style as well, at least just for the sake of practicing creating a professional formatting. Okay, now let's talk about styles. So first of all, I'm going to talk about a couple different ways that you can apply styles, but what's nice about styles is when you apply a style to an element of your book, say the chapter headings, and if every single one of your chapter headings has that style applied to it, then if you're going through your manuscript and you think, I really don't like that font, I'd like to change this to this one here, and then you come over here and you update it, it's going to automatically apply to every single one of your chapter headings, which is so nice because you don't have to go through your document and individually highlight every single one of your chapter headings and then fix it, right? Because that takes forever. So there's a couple ways of doing this. Like I said, I don't like using the default settings they already have, so I always create my own new styles. So I'll come over here to new style. I like to put an @ symbol in front of the title because that's going to bring your new style up to the top of your styles list in this window over here, which is going to make it a lot easier for you to find each new style and apply it across your manuscript. We're going to call this style chapter heading. Then change this to no style. It should not be based on anything else. We'll change it back to Helvetica. Keep it at size 48, that's fine. Maybe turn it down just a little bit. We'll go to 36. Now with chapters, typically you have a lot of space before the chapter heading and then a lot of space afterwards before your first paragraph. So we're going to come down here to Format, click on Paragraph, space before. Let's just put a whole bunch of space in front of it, and maybe like 72, and then afterwards we're gonna add some space as well, maybe 66. Your line spacing doesn't really matter with your chapter headings unless you have really long chapter titles. Then you can play around with this and see what you like and what looks good. Let's click OK and OK, and see that has been applied to our chapter. Now if I want this to be centered, we could go back to this style over here, click the down arrow, click Modify, and come over here and click Center. Okay, now it's in the middle. So again, this depends on your style, what you would like to do with your book, but that looks pretty good to me. So let's take a look. Let's just go ahead and create a fake second chapter and apply the chapter heading style to that chapter so I can show you how this works. And what you have to do, this is a little bit tricky. I've been playing around with this. In order to get these styles to completely function normally, because normally if you just throw a chapter on and you apply the heading, this is what it looks like. See how there's no space before it? Yeah, super annoying. So what you have to do in order to get it to apply and create the space before so it looks like your other chapter title is come up here. Oops. So come up to the end of your last page and say layout breaks, and see under section breaks, next page. Then you're going to type your chapter title. This will be chapter 2. Then you click chapter heading and see how it created the space beforehand. So a little bit of a pain, but that's what's going to get your chapter titles to work out properly. And it's also going to save you a lot of headache in the as you're editing your manuscript, because it won't change your formatting, which is really nice. Okay, now that we've taken care of the chapters, we have a sans serif font. Let's go ahead and take care of our paragraphs and create a serif font. And last time I created a new style and then I applied it. This time we're going to do something a little different so I can show you the second way of creating styles. So we're going to highlight our paragraph here, go home, and let's use Garamond, size 12. Line spacing, I like to keep it at about 1.15, sorry. And let's make the justification even on both sides. It looks really clean and tidy. So see, this is already looking a lot easier to read than these paragraphs here. And if you want to create an indent at the beginning, there's a couple different ways you can do this. With me, a lot of times with my paragraphs, I will create a space after the paragraph. So I've got a 6-point space after the paragraph, and then I'll show you how this looks. So let's go ahead, and we need to make sure that we don't have any spaces in between our paragraphs, and then we start applying. Oops, sorry, I forgot to create So here we have all of our settings. Say new style. Just make sure that you're clicked into this paragraph that you just edited. Say new style. Based on no style, go ahead and say at paragraph. And as you can see, it took all of the settings, all the changes that we just made. Garamond 12. Under paragraph, we have multiple at 1.15. Spacing 6 point afterwards. So we didn't even have to do it all here. It was already done, right? With tools that you're probably very familiar with. Now click OK. Now we have created a paragraph style based off of the edits we just made. And all we have to do is click into each paragraph and apply that paragraph style. See how easy that is? Now say I don't like this very much. I feel like this is actually a little bit hard to read. Maybe I'm going to try Times New Roman instead. So we'll go and change this to Times New Roman. See, it's a little bit more bold, a little bit darker. And then all I have to do is come over here and say update at paragraph to match selection, and it'll automatically update all of my paragraphs that had that style applied to them. This to me still feels a little bit challenging to read. Instead of having the space in between paragraphs, let's actually put an indent instead. Okay, so I'm gonna make a tab. Now with the tab, if you want it to be a little bit smaller, you just come up here and grab this little pentagon here and you just pull it to the left. So I can make a really wide tab, I could have a little smaller. I like it a little smaller like that. And then we're going to remove the space after the paragraph. And then again, say update to match selection, and boom, see? All the tabs are automatically added in. And that actually looks like a really nice chapter book, doesn't it? Something that you would open up and read on a late night next to a fireplace. Great. Now, this style I cannot apply to bullet lists or numbered lists because it takes away all of my numbers and my bullets. So we're going to undo that. And what I do is I create a new style based, that's called numbered list. And then once I've done that, I will adjust my settings. We're doing Times New Roman for this document. Keep it size 12, make sure that the spacing still looks pretty much the same so it doesn't look terrible. Okay, spacing, make sure everything looks good. Should be at multiple, there we go. And the other problem that I run into is if I apply paragraph to this part right here, and I don't really want this to look like paragraph because then see it gets an indent right here, and that doesn't look very good to me. So if this is a full paragraph, then you're not gonna run into this issue, but if I have just kind of like a little subheading in a sense right before, or an introduction before my numbered list, then I don't want to have that indent there. So usually I'll create a new style for this section. For now, for the sake of time, I'm just going to take away the indent and leave it as is, okay? And let's go ahead and create a space after this to create a little bit of space before our numbered list. Now with the numbered list, if you ever want to change the way that it looks, you can come up here into your little pentagons and squares. If you grab the square, let's move that out of the way. If you grab the square, it's going to move, gotta make sure that everything is selected in your list. Grab the square and it will move everything over wherever you want it to be. You could left justify it, you could go a little bit beyond left, might look a little funny. If you grab the pentagon here, it moves all the numbers at once. And that should be what's happening with this as well, but for some reason it's just moving the first one. It's very annoying. Let's try coming down here and taking care of our bullet list instead. So something similar, right? You can move the words. Yeah, see, it works with the bullet list. That's very odd. Anyways, so you grab this here and it will move your words along for you to wherever you want them to be. And same thing with the bullets. You can move the bullets forward or backward and line them up with your text. You probably want them lined up with your numbers. So if I have the numbers up here that are lined up right here, then I probably want the bullets to be lined up along that same spot. It's gonna look a lot nicer, right? And let's just try it one more time. Wow, it's being really weird. I don't know why it's doing that. It's being glitchy. Anyways, that should take care of it for you, but it's not working. So let's continue applying our styles. See, that's a paragraph style. Now here, I don't like how this is lined up. You've got the numbers that are along this line, you've got the paragraph that's indented along this line. Everything just looks a little bit off. So I would actually take the numbers here and line them up with the paragraph, and we're probably gonna need to move the words. My word is being a stinker. Why is it doing that? Okay, we'll just do that for now and move the numbers over here. Oh my word, I don't know why it is doing this. This is very annoying. Whatever, you get the point. So I like to line up the numbers with the indent right here, okay? It just looks a little cleaner, looks a little nicer. Now if I have something that's italicized and I apply a paragraph setting to it, it's going to remove my italices, and I don't like that. So I will create a new style, call it intro or italicize, something like that. Click, oh, we want that to be Times New Roman as well. Click OK, and voila, we have our new style. Let's go ahead and make sure it's at 1.5. Yep. Update to match selection, perfect. And then anytime that I have one of these little intro italices, then I can apply that same style. So over here, italicize. And over here, oh, I didn't create a style for my bullet list. So this I want to be at 1.15 as well. I want it to be Times New Roman, size 12. And this needs to be paragraph. So probably I'm going to need to apply a different setting to both this one and this one, or for my numbered list, I could have a before. Let's try, see what that looks like. So that'll space out my list a little bit. I don't really like that. Let's undo that. So instead, we'll just create a intro paragraph style. Oof, I don't like this very much. Say new style. It's got the space afterwards, okay, and we're gonna call that intro paragraph style. Should not be based off of anything. Click OK. All right, great. Then this one here, I'd have to apply a separate style too because I don't want that to be indented. So as you can see, this can take a little bit of time if you've got a lot of different formatting. If you are just creating a fiction novel, it's pretty straightforward because it's all gonna look just like this. Very simple. But if you've got a lot of other stuff going on, that does make it a little more challenging. Let's go ahead and apply a style to this one here. Oh, I didn't do bullet. We have to do a style for bullets. At bullet. Perfect. Now anytime that we have a bulleted list, I will come over here and apply bullet. Perfect. This is going to be intro paragraph style. I don't like that. Like I said, this one would be more short intro paragraph style. It's going to be a short intro paragraph. Short intro paragraph. This is bullet. That should be paragraph. Now with styles, if you are already aware of how to use styles before you even start writing your book, it can be very useful to go ahead and apply the styles as you write. So instead of having to review your manuscript afterwards and figure out all the formatting, then you can just go ahead and take care of that as you go. But we have not done that. So here we are, this is where we find ourselves. Okay, and the goal is to really not have to use the enter key very much. See here I use an enter key to create white space in between my list and my paragraph here. That's really not ideal. I did not want to add, see here we could say after the list after each of these list items, we add space. But then if we do that and we update it, it's going to add space after each one of our numbered items, and I just don't like that. So I manually added white space right here by saying enter. There are ways that you could fix that using styles, but we're not going to worry about that right now. I could experiment with some different fonts here. Let's try this one. That actually looks kind of nice. Update to match selection. Let's make that one a baddie as well and make it size 14. You could make it bold or not bold. We'll keep it up bold for now. Don't love that, but that's okay. Make it 16 and go ahead and create a new style. This is going to be subheading. And make sure everything is set up right. Make sure it's not based off of anything. Okay, and it's always nice to have a little bit of space before your subheadings. Like I said, not relying on the enter key here. We want to make sure we create the space using styles. So let's create 12 points space and then a little bit of space afterwards. Maybe even a little bit more beforehand. It kind of divides it up and makes it pretty easy to read and follow. I like that. Let's go ahead and update it, and then this should be, yep, enter paragraph. Looks like everything's good so far. Now this would be a subheading. Oh, look how nice that looks. Very nice. Should not be any space here. All of these need to be paragraph. It's looking pretty good. We'll remove the spaces that we entered in our document. Paragraph. Yeah, it looks pretty decent. That's not too bad. Now there's a lot more formatting you can do with lists. When you're creating a nonfiction book, you don't have to have it look just like this. You can get creative. You know, you can have some colored boxes or some diagrams or some images to really make these lists stand out and look visually appealing and easier to read. But this is just us applying styles to the document. As you can see, the styles look really nice with the areas of text that are just straight reading, that are just paragraphs. And I don't know if you noticed earlier, but if we have, let's go ahead and reapply the subheading style. If you have a subheading that's hanging out right here at the bottom of a page, that just looks terrible, right? So what you want to do if that happens is just go ahead and insert a page break, and that's going to separate it really nicely. If your manuscript is not done, I would not do that yet, okay? I would actually leave it here, because if you end up writing a bunch more content and, you know, let's pretend like we're writing some content here. Yada, 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 yada. Then it bumps it down anyways, then you don't actually have to worry about it. Or maybe you've got more content that you're adding and it's bumping it down even further. So don't bump it down until you are completely done with your manuscript and you're literally just preparing it for publication. But if you do want to bump it down, you can insert your page break, or you can just use the enter key. That's not a big deal either. That looks a lot nicer. And we could continue editing this document, but I think you get the idea. And let's just do a comparison. So this is what it looks like now. If I take the document that I copied and paste it again, let's create a new blank document and paste it in, and let's just look at these side by side. Now, do you see the difference? I mean, this looks so much more like a real book. This looks like a Word document. And obviously you're gonna still need to make some grammatical edits to this document here, but the formatting looks really nice, doesn't it? Let's get rid of our little styles window. So we've got the page size that's been set up. We've fixed the margins and we have mirrored margins. You can see this one's a little bit smaller, this one's a little bit wider. So this side would be the side that is touching the spine of the book, or the binding. The chapter title looks really nice. Paragraphs are a lot easier to read. If you were given something like this, You'd feel like you were reading an essay. It would not be easy to read. It would not be engaging. Now, the next thing I would probably do if I was turning this into a nonfiction book, something that is designed to teach people, I'd probably start adding some charts and diagrams and images and break up the text even further to help really make it a visual experience and make it very engaging so readers really understand what they're trying to learn from the text. And as I said before, if you're creating fiction, that doesn't matter as much. Really, you just need to make it look professional here. And I'm just going to reiterate, a really great way to practice your formatting and making sure that your book looks really professional is to pull open a book in your niche or your category that you are writing in and take a look at the formatting they've done. What do their chapter titles look like? Some people will include these little designs above the chapter title or below the chapter title. Some people, especially with nonfiction, they have these pretty little watermarks behind. You can do that with Word, it's not too difficult. They'll break up the text, you can see what fonts they're using, play around with it, kind of get a feel for what looks good and what doesn't. And add page numbers, that's going to be important as well. That should be something you're aware of already. Just insert page number, bottom of page, and you can do it however you like. Make sure that your fonts on your page numbers match the rest of your book. So there's a lot of things you can play around with, but this is a pretty basic tutorial on how to use Microsoft Word, which for you may be a free tool if you already own Microsoft Word, and then you can use that to format your book if you do not want to pay for a professional formatter. I hope that helps, and I'll see you guys next time.